that just doesn't give two flying Rudy poos about what happens with the NFL schedule. Now, the Saints schedule just got released, and there's no primetime games or primetime slots for the Saints this year. Like, they're not playing on Monday Night Football. They're not playing on Thursday Night Football, which I actually don't mind because it makes the show a lot easier, and I don't have to worry about and filter through and change our time from 7 p.m. But they don't play any real primetime games. No Sunday night? No. No Monday night? No. No Thursday night? Okay. And that's what happens when you have the kinds of seasons that the Saints are having. A lot of times the Saints used to be in prime time with Drew Brees when he would break records and do great things on Monday Night Football. But, man, all day long today, which is fine. I saw Jordan Schultz. I saw others breaking news in reference to the NFL schedule, and I'm like, okay, I mean, you know the opponents that you're going to play. I got to be honest, this Saints schedule looks pretty brutal. If I'm being honest, the first 4 weeks, I could see all 4 losses. I mean, the second go around, maybe you get through it. Maybe you get through it. But, I mean, you start the first 2 weeks at home, then 2 games on the road. You got a lot of home games in the first stretch of that season. But, man, there's a lot of losses on that schedule, the way that I see that team. But it didn't matter when you were going to play them. It never mattered when you were going to play them. You know why? Because it doesn't matter here, there, anywhere. When you play them, you got to face off with them any day. Anyway, I just don't understand the whole big ordeal or big to-do in reference to the scheduling and everybody freaking out about it. I really just don't get it. Maybe it's just me. I don't know if you feel the same. We're not here to talk about the NFL schedule. We are live. We got lots we got to discuss about today. We're going to talk about the series to happen that starts tomorrow between the LSU Tigers and the South Carolina Gamecocks. We'll give a preview on that. A lot of things we got to address when it comes to South Carolina. Do more of a South Carolina preview in the first part of this, and then we'll do keys to victory. So a big baseball topic that we got to get into tonight as we break the series down. The series finale in the SEC before we hit some postseason play here for the LSU Tigers. So we'll get to that. Also, Harold Perkins. I titled this segment today of LSU got a bona fide dude back. Let's talk about it. What, now that we're seeing him move around, him moving very well, kind of looks a little bit leaner. Let's talk about Harold Perkins and being re-injected into that defense. What does it do with him at the position of star? Why it probably might be his best position, but what I do think it sets up for you defensively if you put him there. So we'll talk about that tonight. As a lot of videos surfacing about Harold Perkins, in case you missed it, of him kind of really working out and looking really good, knee looking really well, very fast, got a lot of speed, cutting, making moves. He looks really good doing it. So we'll talk about Harold Perkins here tonight. If we have time at the end too, we'll talk about, or take some of your questions and hashtag Ask Blake. Thoughts, questions, concerns. We'll get to it. Paul Sub Martin says, Thursday feels like a Cowan start. Series should be manageable enough to where we can do without him closing. Paul Sub, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, I wouldn't disagree. I don't disagree with you. The only thing I would say about that, Andrew, would be this, is I think that Jay Newt might go. If you, first off, I don't know. I have no clue who's Jay's throwing tomorrow. I just think it might be Jaden Newt. And I don't know if he doesn't get a little bit extended. Now, Newt did throw on Sunday, and I understand the quick turnaround for him, but we'll see. We shall see. It just would not surprise me if it's Newt, but we'll see. We'll see. To Paul Sub's point, though, you should be able to hit off of South Carolina. So regardless of your rotation, it shouldn't matter. Chris Lomax is in the 901. Is that the Memphis, Tennessee area? I'm pretty sure that's Memphis, Tennessee. Yes, where is everybody watching from tonight? Where are you watching the show from tonight? We greatly appreciate you letting us know. Todd Davis says, go Tigers. He's in the 504. You already know. He does say that the Saints still need a veteran QB. I mean, if they don't get one, you know what they're going to do. They're just going to run out there with Shuck. they're going to run out there with Shuck, and they're going to see what they have there. And then they're going to try to rebuild. It'll be interesting to see what they do with some of the cap space that they have. And Derek Carr saves them massively. They can rebuild here quickly if they bring in the right dudes. Caleb says, appreciate the honesty on the convo you and had with Chris. You nailed some good points. Chris and I talked about a lot. Chris Phillips over at SEC Unfiltered. We do a show every Tuesday. We did talk about a lot. A lot of SEC baseball talk. There were some things in there that LSU fans will not like me saying, probably about A&M. But it is the truth. I love doing that with Chris. Noah Mason is in Plano, Texas. Good to have you in here. Memphis, Tennessee is the 901. Billy Freeman's in the 931. Columbia, Tennessee. You got to love it. Good to have you in here, Billy. Keith is in the 985 down in the Bayou. Got to love it. Got to love my man's got a beer in one hand and a cowboy hat on his head. Got to love it. Matt M. on YouTube says he's in Lafayette. Good to have you in here with us. Joe Beanie says Saints need to roll with what they've got. Look, if you want my opinion on the Saints, here's my opinion on the Saints. I think you need to get ready for a rebuild. I think you're in one. Unless you do some really great things in getting some free agents, I mean, you're just in a full rebuild. And even that's a part of your rebuild. What is Tyler Shuck? Are you good enough along the offensive line? Are you good enough a receiver? I mean, there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of question marks with the Saints. So I do think that, look, I love Saints fans. I love the Saints in general. There's a lot of unrealistic expectations. Them not having a primetime game should tell you what people think about you. And it's inevitable. Like it's Thanos. It was inevitable. I am inevitable. And I am Kellen Moore. So yeah. Caleb says, raised in Lake Charles, proud LSU fan in Lake Jackson, Texas. Good to have you in here with us. Speaking of Lake Charles, we brought on a really good partner. Want to give them a shout out. Their commercial and ads will be running starting tomorrow. But want to throw out and send out our thanks and appreciation for those, Mark Newsom and company over there at Henderson Boats, Tractors, and Power Sports. They doing a fantastic job, guys. They have a 30,000 square foot showroom. I mean, if you're trying to go and do stuff in the outdoors, if you are a farmer and you need to tackle a massive job, you got to go over to Henderson. You can go to their website, hendersonimplement.com. That's hendersonimplement.com. You can browse new and used inventory. There's so many great things that you can do by just going over to Henderson. Guys, from the top to the bottom, they have it all. Guys, 30,000 square foot showroom. 30,000 square foot showroom. They got everything that you need. Get over to Henderson Tractors, Boats, and Power Sports. Absolutely fantastic. So shout out to them. They'll be running with us tomorrow. And by the way, you will, I guess, a little programming note. They're not the only ones joining us. You're going to see a lot of new ads on this. I do feel that we're trying to build something special here at AYS. And I'm going to say this. I've been holding off on this. Come June the 1st, I'm going to put a question out there. And if any of you like or if ever wanted to try a podcast, hit us up in the DMs. Now, here's the preface. You got to be very serious about it. You got to put the money in. You can't have no ragtag show. You ain't going to have no ragtag show if you come on with AYS. But big things coming here for your boy in the show. So we're looking forward to it. All right. But shout out to them. And we got a lot of great new people that have come on to AYS, and we thank them. We're glad we're partnered with some fantastic people. So I'm very humble in doing so. All right. We got lots to discuss. When we come back, we'll talk about Harold Perkins first. Then we'll break down baseball and the series Among Us. Before we do that, let's get to our good friends over at BetOnline. Our good friend Tyler Alexander over at LPT Realty and our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air. But before we get rolling, let's talk about our good friends over at Service Hawk Digital Media with the right lead, smart systems, and real growth. Get a marketing system that works for you today by going over to servicehawk.io. That's servicehawk.io today to get those right leads, smart systems, and real growth. You need to get a marketing system that works. If you're an HVAC, electrical pro, generator pro, they are the best at pushing your business from the digital marketing space. Again, Service Hawk Digital Media, where the action happens. All right, let me get to a quick break. When we come back, got a lot to discuss. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. We're back. All right. Some big news kind of coming out is Ethan Petrie, the big slugger for South Carolina, is questionable going into this. Now, I had some shoulder issues. We'll talk about that once we get to baseball here in just a minute because we got lots that we need to discuss there. But before we get rolling, everybody do us a favor. Hit that like and share if you don't mind. So over the last couple of days, there have been some videos that have been surfacing about LSU star and star position, Harold Perkins. Last year against UCLA, a very catastrophic and very bad thing happened where Harold Perkins, on a very strange play and situation, tore his ACL and was out for the remainder of the season. But now we've seen Harold Perkins, after some videos have been surfacing on social media of him working out, of him doing cone drills, him doing bag drills, and him doing a lot of different things. Now, I've noticed them. I've seen them. The only thing I've been really focused at is not necessarily the drill. It's been more about Harold himself. Now, there was one instance in one video, he was looking down at his knee when he was making a cut. Maybe he was looking down at his knee. I don't know. What I did notice in the videos that were posted, or that Harold Perkins retweeted, but the videos that were posted about Harold was a couple of things. Number one, he looked good from a physical aspect. And I mean that from a very pause level-esque type of situation. But he looked good. He ran very efficiently. I thought he was cutting very efficiently. There weren't a lot of wasted motions in a lot of the cuts that he made. And it looked like that he, as he started doing some of these drills and some of these things being posted, that he wasn't really worried about that knee. Looked like it, from what it just could appear, from doing those drills, going through those exercises, it looked as if Harold had a pretty good rehab. Now, as someone who has torn their ACL, here's what I'd say. You never truly trust it. At least I never truly trust my knee or my strength there until you get hit one good time and you know something bad's not going to happen. And then you just go amongst your life. And I think that's still got to happen with Harold. But it's good to see those videos that are surfacing of him because, guys, he looked leaner. He looked in shape. He looked good at the things that he was doing. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because I think that we have talked a lot this offseason going into the 2025 season in reference to guys like Patrick Payton, guys like Jack Pyburn, guys like Sadir Mitchell. Can Don McKinley develop? We've talked about A.J. Halsey coming in at safety. Can TaMarcus Cooley play a role? We've talked about DJ Pickett, the 5-star number one corner in the country, coming in. Mansour Delane. Does Ashton Stamps taking a big step as year 2 as potentially a starter, but year 3 in this program, can he make that leap? Can guys that showed in camp like Michael Turner, can they make a big push? What do you look like at linebacker? I think is a big deal. There have been so many different things that we've talked about defense, and a lot of it has got to do with the guys that have come out of the portal, which I understand completely. Why wouldn't we? Because it's new. There are a lot of things that we need to discuss about them, how they look, how they don't look. There's so many things that we got to discuss when we're going out there for the first time, and there's so many new faces, especially that will be starting. But I think that we need to have a very deep conversation about Harold Perkins. And if you remember, and you can go find these on YouTube, when LSU, right as LSU was hitting the portal, we had Wilson Alexander from The Advocate on. And there was a conversation between him and I on this platform in reference to Harold Perkins moving to star. And I kind of hinted some things there. His addition or re-addition into this lineup is very interesting to me. The reason it's very interesting to me is for 2, maybe 3 main reasons, but 2 for sure. Number one, with Harold Perkins moving to that star position, we are seeing these videos coming out of Harold Perkins doing workouts and making some cuts and running really, really well and doing some really good things in the offseason. Now that he's moved from the inside back outside to that star role, my question starts becoming, how much of an impact can he have there? Now, you remember, and I remember a lot last year with Blake Baker being back at LSU year 1 as a defensive coordinator. That position from a blitz perspective got sent a lot. And Major Burns, when he was sent on a lot of those pressures, what happened? Who was he going against? Like, I remember the sack against Ole Miss where he's got to go up against a running back and he has a massive sack on 3rd down. I think of a lot of situations where in rundowns, that star position, regardless of who's playing it, that position was being sent off of the edge. It happened a lot. PFF, I think that, we had talked about the set, and I don't remember it off the top of my head. I think it was right at or close to 50% of the time on critical downs, and at least on 3rd down, they were sending that star position from a blitz perspective a lot. And I think putting Harold there with Blake Baker's addition could be very massive here, and here's why. The reason it's going to be very massive for his re-addition into this lineup is because when I say a slot guy, but it's what he is. He's going to be a slot guy. When a guy like that comes from that position, they 9 times out of 10 are going to be matched up in pass pro against a tight end or a running back. Now, you guys will remember this. You guys will remember the season that happened in 2011 with a guy who just had a birthday that is an LSU legend, and Tyrann Mathieu. How effective were the Tigers that year from sending that position? Now, I know football's changed from 2011 till now. But I think of like Steve Spagnuolo for the Kansas City. I think of what the Eagles did in that Super Bowl and confusing even a guy like Patrick Mahomes and that position being sent a lot. Guys, it's one thing from last year about putting some size on Harold Perkins and blitzing him a lot in the interior. Even some moments and times where you do put him on the exterior, on the outside of the tackle, and he's coming from there. My question starts becoming, if you get the Harold Perkins that we know he can be, and I know that I'm saying if, and I still think it's an if, because, man, look, you're coming from an injury. When I did it versus now, these technology and everything's so much better now than it was, almost 2 decades ago. The thing that I look at the most is who he goes up against. And his best attribute, which no one has disagreed here, that his best attribute is coming off the edge, is getting after the quarterback from the edge position. The question I start becoming is, I've seen this young man, even last year, go up against offensive linemen and win those reps and create and cause severe chaos in the backfield. What starts happening when he has to go up against tight ends and running backs? Because, guys, that is who is going to be taking him on from when he's coming after the quarterback on a critical passing down. That is what he will face. Now, I'm sure that there can be some situations where teams will slide to him, and I know a lot of teams don't use slide protection anymore, but that they might have to do that. But the problem is that they would have to slide over to Harold Perkins and give a free rush or a running back on Patrick Payton. See, the interesting thing about Harold Perkins is, and adding him with a guy like Patrick Payton, is you have severe speed that you can send from the edge. And it's going to be very critical for those guys in the interior to hold things down and not let guys run on them. Because if they're able to do that, and you let a guy like Harold and a guy like Peyton and some other guys like Gabe Rutherford, Jack Pyburn, Jamari Butler, who can also get there, I think that you look at this defense, I think that it could be, and I throw Harold into this edge position type of situation. I don't throw him into the safety room. I throw him because a lot of the times he's on the end line of scrimmage in some form of capacity. Now, there will be times that he'll get split out. I'm sure that there will be situations against games and teams like Ole Miss where they're not going to want him around the ball, especially on third down. They're going to make you dictate what you're going to do from a lining up standpoint, from an X's and O's standpoint, so that Lane can audible if he needs to. Guys, I know that Harold has had, and I don't even want to call it struggles, but I know the last 2 years have not potentially lived up to some of the hype that we thought for him going into 2 seasons ago and even last year, which last year got cut short over a freakish play that should have never happened. I do think that this can be his best overall position. Excuse me. When I look at him there, I don't know if he's more of a rotational guy in what they want to do, but I do think he's going to have to be, at some point, you're going to have to make the determination if he's an every down dude, because I think that he is and can be an every down player at that position. Guys, Blake Baker likes to send it a lot, and I am very intrigued. I'm very hopeful. I think that this is going to work because now you have a guy on the other side that people will fear. Guys, on third down situations, teams are going to have to game plan for number 11. They're going to have to. Because if you're leaving him one-on-one or you're trying to put a tight end or running back on him, Patrick Payton is going to feast. We've seen it for him through 3 years. I like the dynamic and I like the thought process. Moving to number 2, the question becomes, is it going to be effective? Because there is a caveat to this. The caveat to this is if teams know what you're doing with Harold and you're blitzing him all the time, they're going to do things schematically to where you got to stop that and throw quick and make sure that you tackle in space, which quite frankly has not been your strong suit the last 2 seasons. Can Harold cover at that position the way that Blake Baker wants him to cover at that position? I don't think anybody is going to question if Harold Perkins can get after it on the edge. Nobody is going to say that. But he's going to be able to have to take on tight ends on the end line of scrimmage at star, and he's going to have to cover better than we've seen him do for him to be that every down dude. Health-wise, physically-wise, guys, he looks great. I mean, if you haven't seen the videos, I just suggest that you go over to his social media pages, especially I saw it on Twitter, but I suggest that you go over there and look at it because physically he looks ready to go. And that's a great sign. From an X's and O's standpoint, now that we know, look, man, this kid looks good right now. We'll see what he looks like on the field in August, and I get that. But I am more intrigued about what they can do from a pass rush standpoint and a creating havoc standpoint than I ever have. Guys, I think that when I label him as an edge guy, the way that they want to play it, and you add in Patrick Payton, you add in Pyburn, you add in Rutherford, you add in Butler, guys, quite frankly, holy shit. Guys, that is something that you can look and say, man, if this hits the way that we think it's going to hit, we got something here that can help lead us to that playoff that we're searching. We have something there. And you're going up against an air raid offense in week 1 in Clemson. And a team that wants to throw the football. Now, they want to get the ball out quickly. And you got to force them into third and long situations where you can get after Klubnik. And we've seen teams do it. Can you imagine? What are you going to do if Harold Perkins is Harold Perkins and he took the rehab seriously and he's ready to go? What do you do from a standpoint of do we focus on Patrick Payton? If Harold Perkins is coming, can a running back, which, by the way, week 1 against Clemson, there are going to be some times that they might even have a freshman running back in there. Is he ready for pass pro and Harold Perkins? Is he ready? Because I feel like Perk will be ready. But there's no tackles he's going up against anymore. I mean, tight ends and running backs mainly will be who have to guard him on these pass rushing downs in times that he will come in. And when in run downs, mostly, unless a tackle goes out there to get him for whatever play that they call, he's going to be going up against legitimately just tight ends, mainly. And I think Perk can win those battles. He needs to win those battles. I've liked what I've seen from Perk. I've really liked what I've seen so far. The question is can he develop that? Now, here would be the third thing that I would say. And lastly, over the offseason, LSU did something pretty massive that I don't think that we have talked about at great length. Lance Guidry is going to be in that safety room. The former DC of McNeese, Southeastern, and the Miami and Marshall and Miami Hurricanes. Because he's single-handedly had his hands in helping coach and be with Harold Perkins. We saw it all spring of Perkins standing next to him during every practice. Going through mental reps is what I would call it. I think with the addition of Lance Guidry, can Lance bona fide and develop and help Harold hit his full potential at that position? That is the question. That is the question. I have heard that a lot of people in that building, from a player standpoint, love Lance Guidry. It has been a very good addition. But Guidry doesn't have to worry about play calling. He has to worry about Harold Perkins. He has to worry about helping and developing and molding and helping Jake Olson develop these guys. And listen, Jake Olson's got to swallow some pride here. They got to allow Lance Guidry to be hands-on with Perk and help develop him. Stop getting Perk in a room with everybody else and be single-handed with him in that star position. If and when they do that, which Lance Guidry had a big role this spring with that star position, even from a practice standpoint, he had a massive role. And Perkins wasn't even dressed out. What is it like when he can have that? Now, analysts being able to coach on the field, guys, they can have as many coaches as they want. I don't even know why we call them analysts anymore. It's just a title. But he's out on the field coaching the star position. What can you do there that helps mold this team? Defensively, guys, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think you could be a top 30 unit, but with seeing Perkins, my question becomes, what do we ultimately get with him? I know that a lot of you have kind of just thrown your hands up and say, we'll see what we see because he's got to prove some stuff. I don't know if he really necessarily, for me, does, because he had the same stats as a freshman as he did as a sophomore, and that defense was horrible, and they moved them all around. Will it work this year now that you have somebody that can be more hands-on with Harold Perkins? Will be the question. All right. Jenkins says that Harold Perkins versus Mateer is going to be cinema. Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. I mean, listen. I just think that whole edge position, the way that they want to structure it, the way that they have structured it, because there is a good chance that you have Patrick Payton, Pyburn, Relaford, or Butler in some form of capacity rushing the passer. If you can get into third and long or even third and mediums, because I don't really know if there are a couple that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't know if there's another group that I wouldn't want to go into battle with. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of positions at edge for me that when it comes to getting after the quarterback that I would want more than the ones that you have now. I really don't. You have a physical run stopper in Pyburn who I know he wants to get after the quarterback. Go after it, baby. Pause. Go do it. That position has a chance to be elite. I don't know what teams focus in on and who they try to scheme up on, whether if Perk comes from the edge or Patrick, or do you bring a tight end over to Patrick Payton to get a chip? Do you do that to the Harold Perkins side? What do you do? It's a big decision that offenses are going to have to make. And quite frankly, it is 1,000% the question that I start asking of what happens in week 1 versus Clemson. Now, here's the good news. The good news is that we're going to get to see that in August, and we're going to be able to come back in here and talk about it. We'll get some glimpses of what it looks like. I think that, man, I'm very high on it. I'm very, very, very high on it. Let's see a couple more. Spectrum says we got more than Perk this year. For sure. I mean, you had Savion Jones. You had Braden Swinson last year. But teams focused in on Perk. See, look, go look this up for yourself. When teams started identifying Braden Swinson and tight ends and running backs would chip off of him and make sure that he doesn't get through. What happened at the end of the season? Because your sack production went down. The sack production went down. As many as you were getting per game went down drastically. Now, teams were just running all over you, but the sack production went down. Guys, you have a bona fide, you have more than Braden Swinson this year. You have dudes that can get after it, and it'll be a big thing. Alexander Taylor says only problem is when he gets one-on-one in the slot when he's lined up at star. That is a big concern. That is a massive concern. I mean, I don't know if – guys, we're trying to put very athletic small corners on slot guys, and they have troubles covering it. Guys, the slot position in the NFL is one of the more critical positions in the country, right? I mean, it college or pro. I don't think you can man-to-man with him, and I don't know if you put him there, he's an every down player. I don't know if he's an every down player. He might come in on second and third downs. Like he might even rotate, be a rotating starter based off of what you want to do. On third and longs, they might make him come out because it's 3rd and 14 and you want to play coverage. I don't know. I legitimately don't know what they're going to do. Now, we'll get those questions in August, but I think, I mean, taking Perkins out, and listen, a lot got placed on Harold Perkins' shoulders last year at that linebacker position. A lot did. Guys, Perkins wasn't the reason that Lenore Sellers or Rocket Sanders took ones to the house. He had nothing to do with that. That's not on him. Legitimately, it's not on him. The other linebackers, it was. The safety play, it was. Like a lot of people put a lot of stuff on Perk. The question just simply becomes, what can he do there? We'll see. We'll see. I hope it hits for him. We need him. We certainly need him. So we'll see. All right. Let me do this. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk and preview this South Carolina series and give you our keys to victory. Stay with us. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. All right. LSU versus South Carolina this weekend. Guys, a series that I want really badly. I thought a year ago, and I've said this a couple times, we'll say it one more time, probably will say it 45 more times. I want this series bad because of the pettiness that Paul has shown on the way out. Paul Mainieri, for a fact, has been very petty the last, I'll say, year plus. Last year, going into the series versus Florida, going up to the call with KP and Tom Hart saying, a lot of those players on the national championship team were mine. Well, Paul Skeens and Tommy Tanks weren't, and they were a massive part of it too. Dylan Cruz was yours. Good job. We greatly appreciate it. You didn't win with them. And anybody that has a brain understands, even though that Dylan Cruz would have been a generational player wherever he is, he got better while Jay was here. And that is a bona fide fact. But I look at some of the things that Paul Mainieri has said about and taking shots at LSU because, let's call it what it is, he was pushed out. He didn't retire on his own recognizance, if I even said that word correctly. He has been petty. He goes into a South Carolina football game and he says, we're going to beat all their ass, and then they start getting beat. He goes out there and says that South Carolina's home venue is the loudest crowd in the country, knowing that that is going to entice LSU fans. Well, brother, you've had a horrible season, and Jay Johnson and the LSU Tigers, a team that you used to coach and you used to manage, is coming up there now to end your season. Now, I know that they'll be in the tournament because all 16 teams are in the tournament, but I hope LSU sticks it to them. I want this one bad because why would Paul be that petty? Because, well, number one, I know why it would be that petty, but you ain't have to do that to Jay. He's not the one that forced you out. You're mad at Jay when Scott Woodward and the fan base didn't want your ass. The standard at LSU had not been performing to what Skip had held it, and you had held for a long time respectfully. You weren't getting the job done. Then he runs out there in a press conference and says, well, I guess the league was a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. That's a horrible statement. It's a horrible statement. Pettiness will come back and bite you in the ass when you least expect it. And quite frankly, it's been hitting Paul Mainieri square in the ass every single week that he's been at South Carolina. Now, that's not to say that Paul can't get that thing turned around, because he very well could. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. I don't know. Because maybe he could. I mean, his first year at LSU was really rough, as a lot of you will remember. Things can get better for him. I don't know if he has that same vigor that he once did, but we're going to find out through a couple of years. And some South Carolina fans want him gone. That is for sure. And I don't know if they're going to pay him $5 million to walk away, but we'll see. In reference to this team, look, man, it has been a very difficult season for Paul and the South Carolina Gamecocks. They're currently 27-26, breaking their 500, being at 500 last night when they won a game against Winthrop 6-5 in a midweek. But 27-26 on the season, they're 5-22 in the SEC. Earlier this week, I said, and I put this on Twitter, and even though some Rudy Poos, who are massive Rudy Poos, who will never do anything to your face, came out and said, well, that's a little league take. Paul Mainieri is going to do everything that he humanly possible can do to try to take you down. Guys, why wouldn't he? He's already been petty as shit from the time that he left to the time that he was in that football stadium to even, I mean, in the beginning of the season when they were having some success, he was taking some petty shots. He's going to do everything he can to make sure that you question that regional seed that you want so bad, that top 8 national seed. And anyone can think that it's Little League. Well, I didn't really play in a Little League high school and grew up in 6 years of head coaching experience, but what do I know? I know that you didn't, to the person that I'm directing that to. When I look at South Carolina and I look at what they've done in the SEC, let's go through some of the weekends that they've had. Because they opened up the season by losing 2 or 3 to Oklahoma. They got swept by Arkansas, where they got completely dominated, absolutely abused by the Hogs, who you just beat a week ago. They got swept by Tennessee, and that series was a little bit closer than maybe someone imagined after taking the ass whipping that they did against Arkansas. But in back-to-back weeks, they got swept. They'd lost 2 of 3 to Mississippi State. They got swept by Texas A&M, where they got absolutely blasted. Their pitching staff got blasted. Now, they scored some runs in some of these series. They scored some runs. They can swing it a little bit. Don't let them fool you. Don't let 5-22 fool you in the SEC. Against A&M, against Tennessee, they swung it a little bit. Problem is that they got swept by A&M. They lost 2 of 3 to Tennessee. The only series win that they have on the entire season is they took 2 of 3 from Ole Miss. And Palmineri just still has Mike Bianco's number for whatever it's worth. Because I look at the first half of that, and I look at the only series win where they took the first 2 against Ole Miss. They lost 2 of 3 from Kentucky. They got swept by Florida, where they got absolutely obliterated by the Gators. And that game 1, they got just stomped. You turn around last weekend, they get swept by Auburn. And in that series, they lost 24-2. They did lose game 2, 11-10, which is a very close game. And they lost game 3, 11-3. The truth is about South Carolina is that you should go up to Columbia and smack that ass. You should be able to go up there and completely dominate from the first pitch to the last out. In game 3, you should absolutely be able to dominate this team. I do have some reserves because, guys, this is it for them. This is it. And coming out of the Missouri and A&M series, I understand perfectly well, more than most, that LSU is not Texas A&M. This team is not the team that's at A&M. I get that. You get that. Everybody gets that. But baseball's goofy. And strange things happen all the time. And what I would tell you is about South Carolina and the preview at looking at them. Guys, this entire season, the God's honest truth has been their pitching staff has gotten destroyed. They've gotten obliterated in most series against teams that can swing it. Obliterated by Arkansas. Obliterated against Auburn. Obliterated against Florida. And in some moments, obliterated against Tennessee. Obliterated against A&M. The only ones that I guess you could say they held in check would be Ole Miss. And their only series win of the season. The reason I have reserves is not necessarily that I don't think that you can go up to Columbia and smack the ball around, because I think that you are and that you will. My reserves is that when LSU gets on the road, they must put their bats in an ice chest full of ice, because sometimes they'll go cold. Oklahoma, which you won the series and you swept, but you didn't hit great in that series. And the weather permitting, and I understand that. You got some very critical hits in that series, and you swept, but you weren't great. Texas A&M that you lost 2 weeks ago too. Guys, you just couldn't come up with the big hits when you needed them. Now, you didn't get swept, but you lost 2 or 3. But I think about Auburn. And I think about the critical moments and times where you were unable at any point in that series to come away with the big hit on the road. This is where you find it. Because, guys, quite frankly, you better, because everybody else has. South Carolina as a team collectively, guys, they're not good on the mound. They're not. Now, they have some guys that have some talent. They have some guys that can clearly, when they're on, be a very massive issue for you. Because they've just got absolutely shell-shocked. They've gotten absolutely shell-shocked from the start of SEC play until right now. I look at some of the issues that they've had. Riley Goodman's out. Jansenbeck's been out. Both of those are right-handed pitchers. They're getting back Wyatt Evans, who's going to be probable this weekend, a left-handed pitcher. But some of the guys that they've needed have not either, number one, performed the level that they needed to perform to, or number two, they've just had injuries. Because you should be able to go in there, and regardless of what the rotation is on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you can slug your way to not only a series win. Guys, I want a sweep. I'm not predicting a sweep because I never really want to do that going into a series because the SEC is the SEC. I never want to do that. I want this one really bad. There are some things, too, that you go into this series that you play for. Guys, I'm not 1,000% sure in a rivalry weekend with Texas and Oklahoma that Oklahoma can't take the series from them. Guys, you go out there and win 2 or 3. I've seen some of this stuff from people saying that LSU is not locked down a regional host spot in the top 8. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But you know what you can go out there and do? Go finish it. Go finish it. There's a lot to play for. Where next week means, with all due respect to the SEC tournament, it quite simply doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit. If you want to go and win it, by all means, go and win it. But it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. You want to find yourself in June being in Nebraska. That is just a bona fide fact. You can play at home. You can run this table. You got to do one thing. Win 2 or 3 this weekend, and you got it. You've locked it down. Get to those 19 wins. Because if you get to 19 wins and you're 19-11 in the conference, guys, you're a top 8 seed. You're a top 8 seed. There's no other way around that. Go and lock it down. And by God forbid, you go 19-11. Hell, you go 20-10. Even if you sweep them. Because you then for sure, a 20-win team is bona fide. But even 19, hell, even 18 really will be bona fide in doing that. Because you're going to see some pitchers this weekend whose ERAs are above 6. You're going to see a couple of those above 7. Some of them above 8. Now, the best guy that they've had has been Crowther, the guy that you're going to see in game 1 with 4.13 ERA. Guys, he's gotten rocked. I could see this early, especially in a Thursday short week game 1 scenario, that they come out swinging. This is the last time that they're out there. Some of these guys are seniors. Last time that they'll ever play for South Carolina. For them, there'll be a lot of pride on the line. And you got to go out there and you got to take it to them. But Paul Mainieri knows this team better than any head coach in the SEC not named Jay Johnson. He knows them. He saw them all last year, especially the guys that will be returning. Go take it to their ass. They don't have the level of talent that you do. They're not remotely close. They're not remotely close. Now, because this team can swing it a little bit. In some of these games that they've lost, like game 2 versus Auburn, where they lose 11-10. Guys, if they can throw a ball over the plate, maybe they would have a chance in game 2. Some of those games against A&M, some of those games against Tennessee, if they quite simply could throw the ball over the plate, I don't know if they're a little bit better than what they should have been or where they're at right now. Guys, they have multiple times this season where they've really swung the ball well or swung the bat well. A lot of them. There have been a lot of times where they haven't been able to do jack shit, but I look at Tennessee when they got some big hits. I look at Ole Miss that will be in the postseason. I look at A&M. I look at all of these series where they've lined up and they've just demolished the baseball. One thing is for sure. Do not, from a pitching perspective, take this team lightly. Want to know how you accidentally lose a series against these Rudy Poos? Is because you're not locked in on the mound, and this team can swing it. Now, before we get to this, Ethan Petrie, the big slugger, the infielder, outfielder, first baseman, right fielder, left fielder, whatever you want to call him, He's questionable for this series. And I do think that this is Maneri playing some head games, but who gives a shit? The kid's hurt, and if he plays, he's not 100%. Go take it to their ass. Speaking of Petrie, he is hitting 321 on the season with 10 home runs and 34 RBIs. He's not had a lot of guys on base. He's been banged up all year. I think he's a first-round pick. I think he's that good. We'll see what kind of contribution he can give this team. Nathan Hall is a guy that can swing it, hitting above 330, 7 home runs, 38 RBIs. Scooby has 7 home runs. This team can hit it. When they're on, they can swing it. Guys, there's no facet of the game that they're better than you in. Not one. They don't have a better head coach than you do. They don't have a better pitching coach than you do. They don't have a better overall staff than you do. They don't have a better team than you do. But none of that matters if you go out there and lay an egg, which you have done in a lot of road series this year. I think this team knows that they have a lot to play for. Because I break this series down in our SEC series finale, and I look at them and say to myself, like I can say, like, hey, man, this scares me. This worries me. You know, LSU can attack here. Guys, there's no facet, zero facet of this. None. There's nothing that they do well outside of swinging it when they're on. And that's very random. It's very random that happens. And even sometimes when they're scoring a lot of runs, it's because the other team thinks that they suck and they're not locked in and focused. That is how South Carolina has stayed in some of these games. That's it. There's not a position group outside of maybe what Ethan Petrie would be. There's not a guy on there that I would take over the guys that you have right now. Not one. There's not a guy that we'll see out of maybe out of the bullpen. Maybe. And even that is a push. Last week we talked about this, and I'm going to end tonight's segment before I get to a couple of comments with this. Guys, you got to control the controllables. As much as that's coach speak, as much as that's like, well, no shit, Blake. Guys, you got to go in there locked in, focused, and ready to go. If LSU in this team goes into this series with South Carolina locked in, focused, and just doing what they do, controlling what they can control, none of this shit's going to matter because they're going to blast them out of the stadium. They're going to send Paul Maneri back with his petty ass to his house, which he's been petty. And I hope that someone in that locker room went up to every player and said, we need this one for Jay. We need this one for this fan base. Because the non-media people who make fun of media people, it doesn't matter what they say. I know for a fact that your head coach really wants this one. He really wants this one. You should want it too for all the inevitable reasons. Get back to the ex-head coach for the fan base. Jay Johnson, regional seed, lock, top 8 host. And guys, if some goofy ass shit happens this weekend, you could be the SEC champion. Tennessee is talented enough to take 2 of 3 from Arkansas. They're talented enough. Tennessee, regardless of what we think of them, they're talented enough to do it. It's going to take a lot for Texas. I don't think they're getting swept. But, guys, if goofy shit happens, if some goofy ass shit happens, and even then, there'll still be one ahead of you. Just go take it to him, man. Control what you can control. All right. Let's get to a couple comments before we get out of here. Biggie Bull says, ask Blake, outside of the top 4 guys, do you think our bullpen is underdeveloped this year? No, I don't. because I see a performance like Maverick Rizzi's probably your fourth guy, fourth guy, right? Because he's a freshman. He comes in and dominates against A&M. Last week, he can't find the strike zone. No, I mean, that's being a freshman. I think the same about William Schmidt. I think the same thing about what happened with Cade Anderson last year. This was about the time that Cade Anderson started to find it. This was it right here. Underdeveloped, not a chance. No, not a chance. Spectrum says, just hope Paul doesn't fall asleep in the dugout. I hope he does, so we can troll the shit out of him. South Carolina also has a tiny ballpark. They do. Teeny tiny, like Paul's hands. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they have a very hittable park, a very hitter-friendly ballpark. Go take it to their ass, man. Go take it to them. Cole Adams says, this is South Carolina's last home game for the seniors. I expect they're going to give their best to send those guys off with a win, but LSU is the better team, without a doubt. You're fighting the emotion. You're fighting the emotion. Because they're going to want to take it to you, man. I mean, everybody's going to want to take it to you, but you can't go into this lackluster. You got to go in there. If you just play your game, you're going to beat the dog shit out of them. Bats have got to show up, and that is just a bona fide fact. They do every week, but they got to show up. They got to show up. All right. Last one, then we're getting out of here. Trey says, I like keeping Cade and Anthony. Oh, we didn't even bring this up. So the rotation is set for this week. I would expect Johnny Holstaff for LSU in game 1, Cade Anderson in game 2, Anthony Ianson in game 3. Since this is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. I don't know who's throwing tomorrow. I don't know who's starting tomorrow. I would expect to see Jaden Newt at some point. William Schmidt even maybe. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Go take it to that ass. I don't mind Katie. I love that Jay's leaving him there Friday and Saturday. To be honest with you, I think it's a good idea. Very good idea. All right, we're out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Post game tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace.